Who is all sweaty and yeah? I don't want to lift my armpits; they're all sweaty and stuff. But I really loved, having the band up here this morning, worshiping together. It's awesome. Who's had fun? Who's having fun? Yeah, and I hope you at home also were joining in the dance and singing and clapping and all of that. So today we're going to be we've been focusing on worship. And the big idea, can anyone remember what the big idea was? Yeah, we'll say it together, 1, 2, 3. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3. I am free to worship my Creator. That is it. Okay, so we know that. So what is worship anyway? You heard before, Dorothy said, I love to worship. I lead the congregation in the main church in worship. Some Sundays, I play the drums, and I'm trying to learn the guitar as well. So I love to worship. My kids will tell you I sing at the top of my lungs at home, have the music blasting, and sometimes they join in the fun. But what is worship? What is the word worship? I'm going to look at three things this morning that I want us to. I'm going to look about what is worship, why do we worship, and how do we worship? Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way to worship? Okay, the first one. What is worship? Worship is the expression of adoration for God. Or, in other words, is giving God what he's worth. So let's say you go to the supermarket, or maybe you say go to the game shop. Whenever you go to the game shop or the supermarket, there's price at the supermarket for what things, how much you can buy things for. That price shows how much something is worth. You pay the price for what the people have said that thing is worth. So our worship, when we come to God, when we sing, when we dance, when we clap, we are giving God what we think he is worth. That is what the word worship is. It's giving God adoration or giving him what he's worth. It also means to show God honor. It means to honor God. When we worship God, we're honoring God. It also means I've already talked about what he is worth. So when you hear the word worship, I want you to think about it's giving God what he is worth. Think about the price at the supermarket, how much you pay for things at the supermarket, or how much you pay for that shoes or that Lego. Think about it. When you worship, am I giving God what he is worth? Now, God is not worth $2. He's not worth $5. God is worth so much more. But we can do our best to give God what he's worth. That's what worship is. So why do we worship? Why do we worship anyway? Well, we were created to worship. In the Bible, when we read it, we hear that the angels are always worshiping God 24/7. They don't sleep. They're worshiping God. He says the angels are bound before God day and night, singing, "Holy, holy God Almighty, you are worthy to receive all praise and glory." So we were created to worship just like the angels worship every day. Now, I'm not saying you need to stay up 24/7 and worship God. That is not what I'm saying at all. But we are created to worship God. In the book of Colossians 1:16, it says, "For by him all things were created, that are in heaven, that are on earth, visible and invisible." So visible are like the sea, the ocean, the sea, the things in the sea, the trees, and the things we don't see, like the wind. Those are all were created by God, the invisible, whether by the thrones, dominions, or powers. All things were created by him and for him. So why do we worship? Well, we worship because we were created to worship. We also worship to thank God for his goodness. We saw in that clip, King David was worshiping because God helped him to brought the ark to where they're going to put it. And so he was so happy. He was thanking God for what he has done. So when we worship, it's another way we are thanking God for what he's done. It could be for the food that you've had that today. It could be for your parents or the people who are looking after you. It could be for the car that you have to go to places. You know, there are many people around the world who don't have cars. They walk for hundreds of kilometers. When we worship God, we are thanking Him for the clean water you have to drink at home. So when we worship God, we are just giving Him thanks for all of that, for friends, for good friends, for church, all of that. That's why we worship. We're bringing thanks to God. Okay, so how do we worship? Is there a right way and is there a wrong way to worship? Well, technically, there's not a right way or wrong way to worship. However, when we worship, remember, worship is giving God what He is worth. Is bringing honor and showing adoration to God. So if someone is worshiping God and you are poking them on the side, that is not a right way to worship. If they're worshiping and you're kicking them on the shins, that is not a right way to worship. All right? When we worship, we need to show honor. We're showing honor to God. So we can lift our hands when we worship. We can dance around like we've been doing this morning. We can dance around. Another way we can worship is through serving. You know, the guys at the tech box at the back, they're worshiping God through their skills that God have given them. Even tradies, the people who do plumbing, who do building, all of that, we are worshiping God. You can worship God through painting. You can worship God through your conversation with other people, how you treat other people. That is all worshiping God. Yes, when we come to church, we use songs and instruments to worship God. But it doesn't end. When we come to church on Sunday, worship doesn't start. It doesn't end. We're just coming to at a space of time. When you go home, you can continue that. When you go to school, you can continue that. So we don't start worship and we don't end worship. We leave this side for now, but when we go, we keep on worshiping God. In that clip, we saw King David. He was so happy. He was dancing. He was dancing in his underwear in the middle of the street. Can you imagine going to the mall in town and someone is worshiping God in their underwear? Now, that would be cool. I would love to see that. But I'm not encouraging you to do that. You can do that at home. You can turn the music up. You can worship God at home in your underpants if you want. That is fine. There's no right or wrong way to worship God except when you're annoying others who are trying to worship God. So, I want to encourage us today about what worship is. All right? Worship is giving God what He's worth. We were created to worship. And the key verse for today is from the book of Psalms 105. It says, sing to Him. Yes. Sing His praise. Tell everyone, not just the people in your home or those who are Christians. It says, tell everyone. When King David was dancing in the street, he wasn't just telling a few people. He was letting everyone know. He was telling everyone about the wonderful things that God has done. He was bringing praise to His holy name. And he was saying, I worship you, O Lord, for all that you have done. So that is worship. That's what worship is, giving God what He's worth for all He has done. His wife was mad. He goes, you can't dance in the street in your underwears. You're the king. Sometimes when we worship, some people may not like it. They go, you're being silly. But you know what you say to them? No, I'm not being silly. I'm just so excited about what God has done and I cannot contain myself. That's why I'm doing this. So don't be shy. Don't be shy to worship God in a way that you can bring Him honor and bring Him what He's worth. The team is going to come and join us and we're going to sing one more song. Now all of you know this song. It's called Who I Am, Who You Say I Am. And now that you know what worship is and how we can worship, if you want to lift your hands in worship like they do in the main church, you don't have to wait to get to the main church to do that. You can do that right here. If you want to stand and just listen to the words and just understand it, that is fine. Whatever you want to do this morning, be free to worship your Creator because we were created to worship. So I'll throw over to Zach and the team as they lead us in this next song of worship.